So hey, this morning we've got a real treat for you guys. We've got Jim Murphy, is the president of Hardy North America, Howard Croston, his head rod designer, head of product development, myself, George Anderson, my son James. We're the guy that are kind of responsible for doing those shootouts you've seen. Of course, Hardy's won the shootouts the last couple of years, but now we want to find out why. Okay, so first off, Jim, what I want to know is, I know you've been involved in some other great, projects with Reddington, with Albright, and whatnot, and yeah, some of those rods, the Albright rods especially, did very well in our shootouts. Anyway, tell me a little bit about how you got involved with Hardy.
Well, it was about 5 years ago. I was approached by Richard Sanderson, the managing director at the time, and they had big plans to finally launch Hardy into the States and Canada, all of North America. And really, we're going to make quite an effort and quite an investment. The new warehouse, finance, facilities for shipping, receiving, significant sales and marketing team. So it was really the first time in 140 years that Hardy was really going to make a first-class effort to take the U.S. market, and it worked quite well. Unfortunately, we opened literally on the day Lehman Brothers was seized in September 2008. But it turned out to be okay. We didn't have any receivables, so we were in a clean sheet of paper, as they say in the UK. And really, right from the start, the American public, fly fishermen in the shops, all responded very well to see the traditional Hardy products, the Perfects, the St. George's, and such, all brought to market in an orderly way, in a dependable way, and then to see product development prioritize the American standards in tackle as part of their plans for the future. So that led us into performance tackle that really took into account the rather specific requirements that American anglers need in their tackle.
Tell me, I know you've had a great reputation as a rod designer in the past and done many things for, first for Reddington and then with Albright. Tell me a little bit about your past experience with those guys.
Well, the first challenge was I started with Thomas & Thomas and left there and started Reddington based on a notion that a good rod could be made more accessible at a reasonable price. So the design criteria there was to make, again, a fast action, light rod, but really at a little less than half what people had been paying up to that point. And so that was my first design challenge. And from there we went on to working with Dave Reddington, my partner, and worked with some specific Florida-style design elements that had been in place for years and applied those on a production level. And then we went on and built the DFR with Mel Krieger, which was the first graphite rod to use different modulus graphites for each section.
Huh.
And then finally we went on to make the first nano consumer product of any kind, frankly.
Really? Oh, okay.
And the NTI. And I've got to say we were a little early on that, but some of them worked really quite well. And then, of course, on to Albright, where we, again, were trying to reestablish that mid-price point as a value-quality proposition so anglers could buy rods and reels without breaking the bank.
Well, when we tested some of the 5-weight rods, we threw in an Albright rod into that 5-weight shootout, the first 5-weight shootout we did, and it came out very well. I mean, it performed extremely well. It beat out a lot of $500-600 rods. And what did that rod sell for?
That was the Wayfarer, I think you're talking about, which is the 5-piece rod, very, very popular rod. I think it was about $250. George, what you're talking about is that A5 that we designed, and again, we were able to use high modulus graphites, again, a great ferruling engineering, excellent fit and finish at a price that people had never seen before.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But now, you guys, of course, you took a lot of that design, that prior design experience and applied it to what you're doing at Hardy.
Well, the experience that I had as a designer was really sales and marketing, trying to identify the categories that anglers were looking for, whether it was price or performance or configurations like bush rods of 5'9" 3-weight or 6'4" 4-weight, little rods that people who had a lot of rods wanted to spend a little less on so they could build their quiver and at the same time go up into the high Sierras or into their local bushy stream and manage a fish quickly. So I'd say that most of my talent, if there is such a thing, it would be about sales and marketing. And then for the first time, working with Hardy and having access to the best design resources in the business.
Now we know we've got some great rods from Hardy. The Hardy Zenith, which is won our 5-weight shootout, and then that was 2 years ago. We did a 4-weight shootout, and then the 4-weight, the 8.5 for 4 won the 4-weight shootout. But then at one point in time, you brought in some other very, very good people to help you, like Howard. Now tell me about that. How'd you get him in there working on this stuff?
Well, Howard was there. I mean, he was the head of rod design when I arrived. But what Howard is, what his exceptional quality is, that he really listens. Most designers live in a vacuum, and they'll listen to some people, they'll listen to their mother, they'll listen to their friend, but they won't listen to everybody. And Howard really is a great listener, and he acclimates to a market that maybe he didn't know right away. He also acclimates to material science that was new, and he was less suspicious than some other designers might be. He said, well, let's give it a try. So really an unusually American approach by a Brit to American marketing opportunities and frankly American technology.
Okay, Howard, now tell us, I mean, you've been with Hardy for a while, but I know that you're not only the head of product development and a great rod designer, but you're a great fisherman, a great angler, because I fished with you. And we've had some fun nymph fishing together. You showed me all the great check nymph fishing techniques that you're kicking butt on the world fly fishing circuit. But you fish with the British team, right? You're one of the guys on the British international, with the international fly fishing team, I guess.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate over the last few years. I think I've fished for the England squad something like, in total, 13, 14 times, something like that.
Sure.
I've been out to 6 or maybe 7 world championships now.
Wow.
Which has been pretty awesome.
We were just talking about what you did. I mean, you just had the world championship here just a little bit ago, right? In Slovenia?
Yeah, back in June. We were in Slovenia for like nearly 3 weeks. That was awesome fishing. Loads of rainbows, loads of wild.
And you almost cleaned. You had a very good shot to win the whole deal. You were in the lead for a while.
Yeah, I was in the lead for the first like 3 sessions out of 5.
Wow.
So I led it for the first 2 days.
But it's a deal where there's a lot of chance in terms of the sections you get, the places you get to fish and whatnot. So
Yeah, I got a little bit of bad luck on the last day. I had 2 weak sessions. That slipped me back into 4th, just outside.
well, you were still 4th though. You finished 4th.
Yeah, 4th place. I'll take 4th in the world any day. That'll do. It's,
Where were the Americans?
some of the guys did pretty well. One of the guys was 6th.
Oh.
Definitely come on strong in the last few years. Definitely
Good,
getting
good,
much better in the competition scene. Definitely.
Good. Well, Americans still have a few things to learn from you, from the Brits.
I'm not sure.
Okay, now let's talk about kicking off this new Sintrix technology, whatnot. Now, I know that 3M developed this new adhesive, this new material, this nanotechnology and whatnot, and they allowed several companies to use this, including Hardy, St. Croix, right, and then Loomis.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I think that was the first. That was the first round.
Yeah.
First round of guys who were using it.
In my estimation, you guys have done a whole lot better job utilizing this technology than anybody else. Now, why?
Well, to be honest, I think one of our big advantages was that we have an in-house composites development division where we do a lot of work, we do a lot of military work, a lot of industrial engineering applications with composites, and we had quite a lot of experience in the past with other nanotechnologies, making various things for the military and for other companies. And I think it really gave us a head start. We had a good idea, where to start with the 3M matrix resin, and what we could do to sort of, from a design standpoint, to improve some of the properties that we got from that material by mixing it with other materials and the way in which we actually put the rod together. So I think we had a really good head start on that. We also put significant resource to the project. Basically, we dropped everything else that we had on the go in terms of product development. Myself and the entire group of people I work with, because it isn't just me. There's a mix of people there who've all got different skills. We've got engineers. We've got all sorts of different people. We just diverted 100% of the resource to it. And within sort of a 12, 13 month period, we managed to get a lot of the testing done, a lot of the material science done, the application of it into the new rod designs. We did a lot of testing. We went all over the world. We took...
Now, let me ask you about the testing. Obviously, you did a lot of the testing yourself, but did you have other guys over there help you, other people that you had some confidence in terms of the testing and in terms of telling you what you need to do to fine-tune the design?
Yeah, I mean, we use a really big test group. I have guys who have all sorts of different functionality within that test group. I've got great anglers, both in saltwater and freshwater, guys like Andy Mill and other guys in the freshwater circuit.
Not me, though. I wasn't involved.
No, next time, definitely next time. I think we'll definitely get you involved next time, George. That was an oversight on my part. But
Well, we didn't know each other. That's okay.
No, you can forgive me.
So I got the idea. Well, in my experience, all the great rods have been designed by guys that are great anglers. When I look back at the best designs, the best rod designs we have out there today, I look at who's doing it. They're the guys that are really good anglers. Like guys like Tom Morgan that designed the Winston rods, the Tom Morgan rods. Tom was a great angler. Steve Rajeff, Loomis, a great angler, a terrific, unbelievable caster, great angler. So, I can see, it takes really good anglers to develop the very best rods.
Yeah, I mean, I love fishing. I mean, that's what I do. That's my main thing. I'm here at the minute now. I'm going to be here for the next 2.5 weeks, and all I do is fishing pretty much every day. Apart from this is work. So you're keeping me off the river. So no, I love to fish, trout especially. But for things where I don't have as much experience, we bring in guys who do have more experience. Guys like yourself, some of the other guys we mentioned, for that input, and we sort of try and take it all on board, and hopefully at the end of the day we end up with a much better rounded product.
Now let me ask you a question. Do you take a look at the rods, other people's rods? Do you take a look at the Loomis rods, Sage rods, all these other guys, and say, do you take a look at those and say, here's what we need to do to make ours better, or what, do you pay attention to that?
Absolutely. We basically spend a large amount of money every year. We buy all of our competitors' products. If anything new comes out, we buy it. If you don't, you run the risk of being taken by surprise and somebody coming out with something better or something newer. So we buy everything. In a lot of cases, we back engineer it. We burn resin off things and have a look at fibre alignment. We static deflect it. We break it. I've broken more of our competitors' rods over the last 2 or 3 years than probably most consumers have. We break them on mechanical devices to work out the strengths.
Well, one thing that's impressed me about the Hardy rod, the new Hardy rods, the Zenith rods, is how strong they are. It's just unbelievable. I've never seen rods that are this strong, and I know that the Pro Axis rods are strong too. But I know that the amount of breakage is extremely small. Now, what would you say? What's over all the rods you saw, all the Zenith rods you say? What do you think the breakage rate was?
The last time I looked, which was actually a good few months back now, because we get so few, it's just become not even worth really worrying about. We're probably somewhere maybe around about the 1% mark. I mean,
that's amazing.
Compared to normal, it's just
that's amazing. And that includes guys stepping on them, break them in their car doors, whatever.
Yeah, I mean that even includes things like standard build faults, where even with the best quality control, you do get little blemishes sometimes, and people will send that sort of stuff back.
Sure.
And that even includes that.
Oh,
so
man.
it's
been my own experience that these things are tough. Okay, hey Howard. We got a tip section from this is my favorite rod, 8.5 or 4. Oh God, and for some fishing small flies, this is unbelievable. I know it's one of your favorites.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Anyway, I was fooling around with this bending it, And I just want to show you what this tip, there's a very small diameter tip, what happens when you bend a tip that would normally break a normal rod. Now watch this. So here's the tip for my 8.5 for a 4. You can see it's very thin, you know, but watch what happens. Most rods break when you put a big hoop bend in the tip. Now watch the tip here. Just watch this. Watch that. Look at that. Look at that. How could it not break? It's just amazing to me, you know, the strength of these things. So if it withstands something like that, you're not going to break it on a fish. We got the Zenith, which we know is this is the killer rod. I mean, this is an unbelievable 5-weight rod. It'll do anything anybody ever needs to do with a 5-weight. Delicate, accurate. It'll throw along. I was taking out casting yesterday. Just back out there along to 60 feet, you know, I mean, it just pop it in there, one shot after another, into the wind, into a quarter wind at 60 feet. It was just, I mean, you could come within 1 foot of the target. 1 foot of the dead center of the target every cast. But now, we got a new rod. We got a new rod.
Yeah.
And this is called the Artisan. Now, this rod is a little different here. This rod is built in England, in Hardy's factory in England, and this is a beautiful rod. Now, you guys tell me about. I'm just going to pull a couple of sections out here. This is this thing is gorgeous. I mean, we've got a beautiful, you know, wood reel seat. You know, the color is just gorgeous and whatnot. But tell us about this new Artisan. You know, how is this different from the Zenith?
I mean, basically, what we've done with the Artisan, we've taken Sintrix technology, we've incorporated it into the blank, but then we've applied a standard and a build quality that you would get on the finest cane rod you could buy. The thing's completely hand built from scratch in England. The blank's rolled in England. We sourced the reel seat. The reel seat's an Amboina burl, which we sourced from the USA.
Pretty. As Howard and Jim have told us, they're using some Amboina burl, and a very nice, very positive reel seat that locks up nicely. It's a very nice looking up-locking seat, holds the reel very securely. Looks just a beautiful looking job.
We've got the very best Portuguese cork, floor grade.
The cork, just talking about the cork now, you know, one of the things that's always impressed me with the Hardy rods is the cork. Look, here's the Zenith, okay, here's the Artisan. Well, look at the cork even in the Zenith. This is unbelievable cork, way better than we normally see from all the other rod manufacturers in the world.
Yeah, we put a lot of effort into the cork sourcing. You know, it's a natural product, it varies year to year, but we do quite a lot of forward buying of the cork to try and hold that quality level. It's not always possible, but we do on average keep quite a high cork.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, it's a gorgeous color. It's a kind of a metallic olive gold.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things with the finish, we have a new system which we developed ourselves, which gives us this crystal clear varnishing work.
Oh.
I mean, if you just look at the thread wraps, when you get a close-up look at the rod, look at the thread wraps, there's practically no air bubbles within that thread wrap.
Wow.
In fact, you can't even see the thread. The thread's invisible.
Let's take a little closer look at it. Well, I'm looking at the stripping guide here, and now I look closely. The wraps are clear. It's not a colored thread, and then they make a coating over the wraps. But look, you can see the feet of the guide. Doesn't look like there's anything on there. So that's amazing. Now, I've took this out and cast it yesterday, and it's a lovely rod, you know. One thing I noticed right off the bat was the fact that it's very light. You know, it's a little smaller in diameter, you know, than the Zenith.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does this differ from the Zenith? I also noticed that it seemed to me to be a little tiny bit softer and a little bit slower in action. Now, am I right? Am I wrong? Where am I sitting on that?
Well, you know, slow and soft, I don't like those words, but you know, it's what we've done. The taper design, I've not gone for as rapid a taper, so the taper's a little bit more easy.
Yeah.
What that gives
slower.
us... A little slower. Yeah, okay, go on, I'll let you use that one. What it gives us is a rod which is just that little bit easier loading. So for a guy who doesn't want a real high performance, fast action rod, we've got something that's just that little bit easier. So the guy who likes a slightly more smoother loading stroke to his cast,
but it's still a very, as I could see, it's very high performance. It's not,
Oh, yeah.
we're not talking about a huge difference here. It's just a very subtle difference.
No, it's to give the guy who likes something just that shade easier, that helps him out a little bit with his time, just to give him something different. It also, you know, gives you good tippet protection. The 8.5 4 is a really, really nice sort of short to medium range accurate dry fly rod, and they are very slim in profile as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I can see some differences at long range. You know, I mean, frankly, at real long range, the Zenith is tough to beat. I mean, if you're trying to throw stuff at 50, 60, 70 feet, I mean, this will really get the job.
Oh,
This is still, you can do it with the Artisan, but I can see where the performance is more geared to closer distance fishing, but that's what we're doing most of the time. I mean, 90% of the fishing we're doing is, you know, 20 to 40 feet, you know.
Well, it's a finesse rod. It's very much a finesse rod, technical fishing that really require very light tippet, very long tippet. So it really is a rod for the most expert kind of fishing, while at the same time being a little easier to cast. So I would say those two qualities, it's an unusual mix, but at finesse and upfront technical fishing is what the rod's all about.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, we're going to have now all these new 5-weight rods on the market. We're going to have to do another 5-weight shootout this next spring, and you know, I don't know. I mean, you may be looking at number 1 and number 2 again. I don't know. We'll find out. Huh? What do you think?
Well, it would be helpful if we won.
Well, you know, people think we're in bed together. Well, we're just gonna call it the way we see it, you know. But boy, I'll tell you, these are very impressive rods, and it's gonna be tough for anybody to knock them off.
I would hate to be a rod designer in this decade. Those are two really hard rods to beat, in my opinion.
Awesome.
We had a great time. I thank you guys for coming and talking with us a little bit about the new technology, and for people to get to meet Jim and Howard, and so I know you're flying out of here. Are you still sticking around to fish?
Yeah, you know, I've got like a week left, so I'm gonna hit a few more rivers.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, George. James.
Awesome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was great. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Superb.